Okay, so moving on to the next question. I had taken this question from RTP May 2022. So just read the entire question. C.A. Abhinandan is an auditor of KM Private Limited. During the course of audit, C.A. Abhinandan became aware of information concerning an instance of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with laws and regulation. Being a senior partner of C.A. Abhinandan, guide him regarding audit procedure to be followed when non-compliance is identified or suspected. So the question is regarding what are the auditor's responsibility when the non-compliance is identified or when the non-compliance is suspected by the auditor. So there is an auditor called C.A. Abhinandan. He is an auditor of a company called as KM Private Limited. And during the course of the entire audit, he came to know about some information. And that information provides certain evidence or certain instance of non-compliance. There could be non-compliance or there could be any suspected non-compliance with laws and regulation. That means the auditor thinks that in that company some non-compliance has happened. So regarding this, you are a senior partner of C.A. Abhinandan, you are the senior partner of that auditor, and you should guide him what are the auditor's responsibility if there is any non-compliance or if there is any suspicion or if the non-compliance is suspected or identified. So what are the things you need to do? This is a straight question, so let's frame answer for the same. Okay, so before writing the answer for this question, let me discuss with you some of the important points that you need to remember regarding the answer for this question. We know that we are learning about SA 250. SA 250. SA 250 means consideration of laws and regulation in an audit of financial statement. This SA 250 tells that if the auditor finds any information or if the auditor becomes aware of any information regarding this non-compliance, or if the auditor gets to know that there is a suspected non-compliance in the company, then he need to do two things. The auditor need to do two things. When the auditor need to do these two things, when the auditor finds that there could be any non-compliance in the company. So first of all, the auditor need to obtain an understanding. Auditor need to obtain an understanding of the nature of the act of non-compliance. Nature of the act of non-compliance. That means what is the non-compliance, when it has occurred, what are the other aspects of the non-compliance. He need to obtain the whole detail regarding non-compliance, as well as the circumstances in which the same has occurred. That means why the non-compliance has occurred. What is the background of such non-compliance. Every detail regarding the non-compliance he need to obtain clearly. He need to obtain clearly regarding the nature of the act of non-compliance. And the second thing he need to obtain is that he need to obtain further information to evaluate the possible effect of non-compliance on financial statement. Possible effect of non-compliance on FS. So the auditor, if the auditor finds any suspected non-compliance, he need to do two things. First of all, he need to obtain the understanding of the nature of the act of non-compliance. He need to question what is the non-compliance, what is the circumstances in which the same has occurred. And the second thing is that he need to obtain further information. That means he need to obtain additional statements or additional information, and the same thing need to be evaluated in detail, so that the possible effects can be find out. What are the possible effects of such non-compliance on financial statement. And if the auditor suspect that non-compliance may exist, that means the auditor has a doubt regarding the non-compliance in the entity, then he need to discuss the same with management or TCWG, management and TCWG. Suppose this management or TCWG do not provide information. These people do not provide any sufficient information regarding compliance with laws and regulation. Then in such a situation, the auditor need to use his judgment. That means the auditor need to understand if this non-compliance, if the suspected non-compliance is material or not. He need to obtain such understanding. If the same is material, then he need to obtain legal advice. Legal advice, obtaining legal advice is mandatory in such a case. That means if the suspected non-compliance is material to the financial statement, in such a case, the auditor is not a legal expert, so he need to obtain legal advice. And if such sufficient and appropriate audit evidence is not obtained by the auditor, then he need to assess what is the effect on his auditor's report. That means SA 705 also comes into this picture. And if after evaluating such implication, he need to include other aspects. He need to consider other aspects such as risk assessment procedure. The auditor also need to question the reliability of written representation. And after doing all these things, he need to take appropriate action in accordance with standards on auditing. So this is the main thing. This is the main answer to this question. I hope you all understood this. Okay, so let's write together. First of all, you need to give a heading. Auditors responsibilities. Auditors responsibilities when non-compliance is identified. When non-compliance is identified. Wait a minute. Okay. As per SA 250, consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements. You need to write the complete words, okay? In an audit of financial statements, comma, when the auditor becomes aware of information concerning an instance of non-compliance or suspected non-compliance with laws and regulations, the auditor shall obtain, okay. We had discussed the two things. The auditor need to obtain two things. First is he need to obtain what is the nature of the act of non-compliance, what is the circumstances in which the same has occurred, and the second thing is that he need to obtain further information regarding this, and he need to evaluate what could be the effect of the same on financial statement, whether it is material or not. So just write these 2 points. First point, the auditor shall obtain an understanding of the nature of the act of non-compliance and the circumstances in which it has occurred. And second B point, further information further information to evaluate the possible effect of non-compliance on financial statements. Then if the auditor suspects that non-compliance may exist, the auditor shall discuss the matter with management and TCWG, those charged with governance. Where management or TCWG do not provide sufficient information that supports that the entity is in compliance with laws and regulations, and in the auditor's judgment, the effect of the suspected non-compliance may be material to the financial statement, The auditor shall consider the need to obtain legal advice. If sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, SAAE means if sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding the suspected non-compliance cannot be obtained, the auditor shall evaluate the effect of lack of sufficient and appropriate audit evidence on the auditor's opinion in accordance with SA 705. That means if the auditor do not get sufficient and appropriate evidence to base his opinion, then he need to modify his report, whether qualified or disclaimer. Next, further, the auditor shall evaluate the implications of non-compliance in relation to other aspects of audit, including the assessment of, including the auditor's risk assessment and the reliability of WR and the reliability of return representations, and shall take appropriate action in accordance with standards on auditing, SAs. So this is how we need to write the answer for this question.